Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So you start recording and let me go to the screen again. So where were we? We were discussing this thing here, right? So yes, tell me now, this is important here and it is good that you remember that we have to record. Is it possible that we have two same intensities,
No, sir.
but different frequencies,
No.
giving us different photocurrent?
No.
Is it possible?
No.
Actually
Temperature
possible.
change.
Actually possible. No, don't say random things. Temperature change. You have to say something, no? You try your luck. That it may come out to be correct also.
Sir, no, sir. If temperature
Why?
increases,
Okay,
means
explain now.
electrons can be ejected
If you are
somewhat fastly, no, sir. With some lesser frequency.
no, you are talking about no, not like that. Thermionic emission you are thinking about. Thermionic emission, first of all, for that we need to that thermionic emission example also I have taken somewhere, I think so. I don't know for you or for somebody else. But that is different scenario. In that case, it will be heated a lot. Less heating will not be enough. It has to be heated if we want to really make the electrons being ejected by the increasing temperature, then that light will not be sufficient enough. Then we have to really give very, very high temperature, and that will be possible by maybe making a heating coil, putting an extra heating coil here, which can heat it. But then why we are discussing what is the impact of light, not what is the impact of the that heating coil here. And there is no such heating coil here, and light will not be able to heat it at that much. So that is not the reason. But there is still a valid point by which I can say that even if the intensity is same, then for different frequencies, we may have different photocurrent. What is the reason now? Think what might be happening here. Why it may be happening like that?
If we change the medium inside.
No, medium is not changing. It is vacuum, always vacuum chamber. Don't forget, how are you talking about medium? And cathode is also same. Every other thing is same. Only change I am making in this is I am changing the frequency. Only change. Remaining all things are same. Now, will the graph be possible or no, it will not be possible? I know that it is contradictory to what I said before. I said when intensity becomes more, then saturation current becomes more. But I want to clarify something here. That was also me only. I was only saying that. But now I am saying that even if intensity is the same, then also we may have such condition that by different frequencies, we may get different photocurrents. The reason is this. I started explaining in this way that assume n photons are incident and n electrons are ejected. But that will never happen. It may happen that n photons and eta times n are ejected. Is it true or not? And eta is called as, you can write it down somewhere, quantum efficiency. Eta is quantum efficiency of photoelectronic emission. So that quantum efficiency may be different. And that quantum efficiency may be dependent on some various factors we don't know, like it may depend on maybe frequency also, it may depend on some other factors. It may depend a little bit on frequency. And if it depends on frequency, then different frequency photons may have quantum efficiency. As a result, one particular frequency may be more efficient for the photoelectric emission. That is one of the reasons why I'm saying that. But nearly quantum efficiency is also same. So that is also not a big factor. But even then, if we ignore the effect of quantum efficiency and we assume the quantum efficiency to be same for different frequencies, let us assume that now. I'm assuming that quantum efficiency is also same for different colors. Then also, is it possible to have different saturation currents by changing the frequencies? Yes, then also it is possible. There are some other factors which you have not noticed. One factor is this, that intensity of light is same, but you notice here it depends that whether this light is incident perpendicularly or it is incident obliquely. If light is incident perpendicularly, then what happens? Then even if it is same intensity of light, same not heat. This boys again. What is the problem with this?
Eta. Not heat, sir.
Eta does not increase. Again, eta is also wrong. Eta does not depend on the angle. Eta does not increase. But area is more number of photons will end up striking. Even if the intensity is same, then also more number of photons will end up striking or not. Number of photons striking does not depend only on the intensity. It also depends on intensity multiplied by the area. Then more number of photons will be in this. See, if light ray is falling this way and it is striking on this area, on the other hand, it is striking on this small area. Are the number of photons passing striking equally or not? Although this area is less and this area is more. Now, if I make area perpendicular to the photons and I make area also big, then equal this area, it is A1, and if I make A2 also equal to that only, but I make it perpendicular to the light rays, then definitely more number of photons can be emitted now, because more photons are incident on it. So more number of electrons can be ejected. That is one reason. Understood or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Intensity means, for example, if you are going outside and it is very hot sun, let us say. So if it is, you are feeling very hot and you are seeing that there is a lot of intense rays, that intensity also on the horizontal ground will be causing more number of photons will be incident, and on the vertical wall, less number of photons will be incident. Understood or not? If
Yes,
it is of
sir.
same area of horizontal ground area and same area for the vertical wall, then I think you can understand that if rays are falling in such a way, they can make on the same area on the horizontal ground and the same area on the vertical plane, there may be different number of photons being incident, although area is same. That is possible. But now I want to say one more thing. Let us say that I have not changed the angle of cathode, I have not changed the area of cathode, I have not changed anything except the frequency. Now, and photo efficiency, electron, this eta also we are assuming to be same. Eta is also same. Can then also the frequency change will cause the different photocurrent? Yes, it is possible now. And why that last thing again I'm saying is possible. I will give you the reason for that now and understand it properly. This is our reason. Let us try to write the formula for photocurrent in terms of all the things. Eta is the efficiency, right? So if what is meaning of intensity? This is the power of the source, and from here, let us say it is a point. I have to first wait. It will take some time, but okay, have patience and try to listen carefully everything. Let us say I have a point source of light here, and that point source of light is spreading light uniformly in all the directions in the form of a spherically everywhere. Means this wavefront will be coming from here and it will be spreading in the form of a sphere. Then what will be intensity? If it has power P, then intensity obtained here will be definitely power upon area of the sphere, P upon 4 pi r square. That will be intensity due to point source. Which kind of source we are taking? Isotropic also. Isotropic is also important. Isotropic point source. What is the meaning of isotropic?
Equal in all directions.
Identical in all directions.
Uniform in all directions.
Same properties in all the
All directions.
same property in all the directions. So that is called as isotropic. So for isotropic point source, the light ray coming from the center will be spreading uniformly in the sphere, and once it is spreading in the sphere, then intensity obtained will become power upon area, power upon perpendicular area, we can say P upon 4 pi r square, right? And because it is uniformly spreading in all directions, so I can say that power is everywhere, intensity is everywhere same, in the complete sphere. If I don't have a point source, if I have a line source, I can have line source also. Then for a big line source, long line source, let us say I'm having, if it is a very long line source, so long that I cannot even see its ends, then from the long line source, cylindrically it will come. Okay, forgive my diagram, but understand it is cylindrical. These rays will be coming cylindrically outwards. So if these are coming cylindrically outwards now, in this way, everywhere cylindrically outwards, then let us say it has length L. Then what will be the, and power is P per unit length. Power point length is given as P, then, and radius is R, cylindrical radius this time, not spherical radius. Then intensity obtained will be equal to P upon 2 pi RL. So intensity may be inversely proportional to R square for one case, and it may be inversely proportional to R for the other case. Then we have a plane source of light. If it is a plane source of light, then intensity just remains constant only. If it is a plane source of long but large plane source, means like LED, but don't assume that LED is only finite LED. LED TV you have seen. Imagine we have a LED TV which is just a complete white screen in that LED TV, but that LED TV is so long that you cannot even see its ends. Imagine such a long LED TV, infinite LED TV. of completely white screen, let's say, then it is spread, or maybe one color, monochromatic light anyway, it is spreading something. And that monochromatic light, when you will be receiving at any distance from that LED screen, then it will be of same intensity. Okay, that will be of same intensity. It does not change. Now, keeping this idea in mind, I will be taking example of isotropic point source here for the particular example, particular case which we are taking. We are assuming here this light is coming from isotropic point source. Okay, HCV sir has drawn this diagram, and according to him, you can see the light rays are parallel to each other. If light rays are parallel to each other, then it means it is coming from which kind of source?
Plane.
Plane source. And understand one more thing: I don't have to create that infinite LED to create a plane source of light. This spherical source of the point source of light also will be giving us like plane source only if I observe it from a very large distance. For example, from sun. Sun is a point source. Sun is a point source, and Earth at the Earth, when the sun rays are reaching, then these are already nearly parallel to each other. All the sun rays are appearing to be coming from same direction. So the sun, although it is a point source, but on the surface of Earth, when we are looking at it, then it appears like a plane source only. For us, light appears to be coming like the plane, as if it is coming from the plane source of light. Intensity does not change much. If we are h height above or h height below, intensity nearly remains same. It does not change much. Okay, as long as we are near the surface of Earth only, and we are not changing height so much, which becomes comparable to the distance of Earth from the sun. If as compared to that, the variation is less, then by moving closer to the sun or moving away from the sun will be same intensity nearly. Okay, keep these ideas in mind. Now, after keeping these in mind, let us discuss one example where in this particular let us take this example here. In this particular case, except one thing I want to change here, I want to keep a point source of light. So light is coming from here and it is spreading. Light is spreading, let us say. And it is just coming from a finite distance r. Then the formula for intensity of light received will be equal to, although now this r is also varying from one end to the other end. But if I assume that this distance and this distance is nearly same, means this closer end and the farther end, A and B points, both are nearly same distance away, r distance away only, then I can write I intensity is equal to power upon 4 pi r square. Energy incident per, but energy formula, what is the energy formula? I think energy, everybody knows that it will be in the form of photons. Each photon has energy hf, and n number of photons are there. So n into hf, and if n number of photons, it is power means energy per unit time. So it is already divided by time, that is power, and power upon 4 pi r square. That is intensity received. But photoelectric current, saturation current, will be not only proportional to intensity, it will also depend on quantum efficiency first of all. And it also depends on one thing else. What else? It will depend on. I think that only. No, it is enough. It seems, and right only. I think that is enough. I think so. Let us now write the formula for eta. Yes, saturation current. So saturation current will be eta times number of photons of energy hf striking in time t at a distance 4 pi r square. Wait a second. This is again, it is proportional to the area on which it is striking, area of the cathode plate, and also angle. It is also proportional to the angle also, no? At what angle it is striking. So I can say per unit perpendicular multiplied by perpendicular area, I should say perpendicular area. Only that component of area which is perpendicular to the light, that only I am taking into account. So it will depend on all these factors. This is saturation current at last. It also depends on A perpendicular. What is meaning of A perpendicular? Area vector of the cathode was in this direction, that was A cap. The light ray was falling in this direction. So I have to take component of area along the direction of light ray. That will be A perpendicular. It will be A cos theta if I want to write for this. If it is A here, that will be A cos theta. So it depends on so many factors, right? Light was coming from this side. This is source of light. So component of A in the direction of light ray, A perpendicular. So it depends on eta. I said eta is, let us say, same. And I said R is same. And I said A perpendicular is also same, not changing. Frequency is changing only. But I did not tell anything about N. I just said intensity is same. If intensity is same, what does it mean? It means I can take two different frequencies, but I can still keep the intensity same by N1 F1 equal to N2 F2. Is it possible or not?
Yes, sir.
So I can write it in this way. Eta times, let us write in terms of intensity. So what is it becoming? It is becoming eta times I into A perpendicular divided by that only, I think, eta times I into A. Yes, IS is this. It is that. I can write it as eta times I dot A also, because it is like dot product and I have to take its magnitude. It has the quantum efficiency. This we can write. I can write as a vector also here. Why? Because, you know, I have to take, this is the latest intensity. Normally we can take intensity as a scalar, and in fact it is scalar also, but I can treat it as a vector also in this case. If I say that I want to denote this vector in the direction of incident ray, then if it is a vector of intensity, magnitude equal to the intensity of light and direction in the direction of the ray, then I will call it as intensity vector. I can say that. Then I dot A will give us the complete picture. That will be the saturation current. It is so simple formula at last.
Sir,
Okay or not?
Sir, IS means intensity, sir.
I is?
IS.
IS is saturation current. Maximum possible current which it can have. After that, it is not possible to have more than this current. Less than this is possible. Saturation current is possible. I gave you example also that some electrons may not be able to reach here, but when all the electrons are able to reach here, because why some electrons may not reach? Some electrons may have insufficient energy to be able to reach up to that, because let us say electron comes out here with zero, very less kinetic energy, and moreover, that electron is, let us say, going in some other direction. That is also possible. So it may be possible that it may not end up striking that anode. But if I'm giving the favorable potential here, then that potential will try to pull the electron in this direction. But all the electrons are getting pulled up. All the electrons are, even if electron is ejected out with a very less energy, that also should be getting pulled up towards the anode. That should also not go wasted. Then when that happens, then all the electrons which are ejected constitute the photocurrent. And when they current, all are constituting the photocurrent, then I cannot increase beyond that. That is the upper limit. Saturation is already achieved now. Okay. So I was asking this question, is it possible to do something like this? That same amount, same intensity, but different saturation current. Is it possible? And now you know that it does not actually, wait a second, what am I doing here? I should have written this formula up to this only. I think after that I should not convert it. Reason is that here it is becoming more clear that this depends on N. It depends on N. So means it is like this. See, number of photons striking, let us say NPH, and number of electrons ejected is Ne. Ne upon NPH ratio is eta. Ne upon NPH ratio is eta. And okay, let me make it more clear. I think I just said it is proportional, but I did not say clearly why proportional to that. Let me start from the saturation current definition. By definition of any current, we have formula dq by dt. Charge ejected per unit time. Charge will be equal to number of electrons ejected per unit time. That is saturation current. Number of electrons ejected will be eta quantum efficiency into number of photons ejected per unit time. Falling per unit time, number of photons falling per unit time. So this number of photons falling per unit time. Now I think it is better if I do this way. That number was representing the total number of photons being ejected, but out of that only some fraction is only being intercepted here. I should have gone from the starting from saturation current. Let us start from here. I will reach something like this formula only, but my starting was wrong, I think. So I should have started in this way. Anyway, eta into NPH, number of photons per unit time. That will be this. Now, number of photons striking per unit time. Number of photons striking per unit time will be obtained by the definition of energy striking per unit time. What is energy striking per unit time? Energy per unit time, power received. Power received is different from power emitted. That was different. So understand, before this I was writing the formula in terms of power emitted here. This is power emitted. But now I'm talking about power received, power incident. What should I call it? Power incident? There should be some different name for it. Power
Input.
Or is it okay to write this only? Power incident is okay?
Input.
Power incident on the cathode, I can say. Power on incident on cathode, right? Power incident is equal to energy incident. Energy incident per unit time. Per unit area perpendicularly. That is upon area perpendicularly is equal to intensity. That is also intensity. But this intensity is also equal to the total power P net of the power of the source, I should say here, I think, power of the source divided by 4 pi r square if it is a point source. So power incident is different from the power of the source. Understand one thing first of all. Energy incident per unit time per unit area perpendicularly, and that will become energy incident can be written as intensity dot A upon T into A perpendicular, or it will be just I into A perpendicular upon T into A perpendicular. Wait a second, T is required here or not? No, T is not. Sorry. What am I doing again? What I want to find here now? I want to find energy incident, right? Yes, energy incident only I want to find. Energy incident. Energy incident will be equal to, what will be energy incident? That can be written as, in terms of intensity, I into A perpendicular into T. Yes, from this only we are getting I into A perpendicular into T. This I can write as I vector dot A vector also into T. That is energy incident. What is the formula for energy incident? Energy incident formula will be number of photons incident, NPH, into frequency HF, that is energy incident, and that is equal to I dot A into T. Now I want saturation current, which is dq by dt, which is equal to number of electrons incident per unit time into number of electrons incident per unit time into charge on electron, which is equal to eta times number of photons incident per unit time multiplied by electrons, that is charge of electron. That becomes finally NPH I want to obtain from the above formula. What is NPH? NPH is coming out to be equal to I dot A into T upon HF into eta into T into E. That is saturation current. So what is it at last? This is simply quantum efficiency times. Have you understood this or not? I am just writing one formula here, NE upon NPH, that I am assuming to be efficiency of photoelectric emission. If I define efficiency in this way, that also may not be defined in exactly the same way. Sometimes it may be defined in another way also. But if I am defining it that ratio, that out of the number of photons incident, how many are ejected, that is, let us say, telling us the efficiency of emission. So then somebody may like to define in another way. Somebody may like to define that I will define in terms of intensity or something. That is, now it depends. Okay, but it means these are not standard definitions, obviously. But okay, I'm defining it in this way. Then if it is this, then we are getting eta into I dot A I dot A upon H into F into E. We are noticing that even if I have same intensity, same area, same eta, same E, same F, then also it depends on F. What is it coming out to be? It is coming out to be inversely proportional to F, means larger F may have, yes. But if I assume eta to be constant, although now I cannot say that it is true that IS will be inversely proportional to F, and the only reason is because eta is also creating a problem there. And it also may depend on some function of frequency, and it may be having some association of frequency. So by which I will not be able to get a simple relation that if frequency double, then current saturation current becomes half for the same intensity. That relation will be completely invalid and wrong. We should not think like that. But yes, I'm giving you that idea that saturation current is a complex factor of frequency also. This eta is also some, eta can also be some factor of, it is also some function of frequency. Okay, some function GF, let us say. So because it is dependent on frequency itself, and we have a complex function of frequency, so we don't know how it will be varying. But yes, it is quite natural to see it is possible that we can have same intensity, and then also we can have different saturation currents. So this is one, just let us call it just a one point of view. But mostly in books, or maybe I think including NCERT also, they don't do that. They say like this only, that as, and I think S.C. Verma also said that only, maybe. They say like that only. They say like that only. You see, you can see H.C. Verma also. I think he also said that only. That if intensity becomes double, then the saturation current becomes doubled. This is a normal way by which we say things. And the reason is, here I am defining the intensity as, what is the unit of my intensity, which I have defined here? Energy per unit time per unit area, which will be equal to watt. Energy per unit time watt per meter square. So if my intensity is having this unit, watt per meter square, then whatever we have done is correct only. But somebody will like to define intensity in another way. Let us define intensity in another way. Somebody may say intensity is just number of photons. If I define intensity as number of photons incident per unit area per unit, if intensity is number of photons per unit time. If it is defined that way, that is another, we can define in another way. Okay, so unfortunately that causes confusion, because of, in some places they define in one way, in other places they define in another way, and they reach two different conclusions. So if I define in this way, then my conclusion will be now, by that definition, if I want to define number of photons incident per unit area per unit time, then let us start with again, what will be the saturation current according to our new definition. Let us call this intensity as I star. This is because slightly different from the old intensity. And let us start with our definition again. Saturation current will be dq by dt, which will be equal to number of electrons incident ejected into charge on one electron per unit time. And then also number of electrons will be becoming number of photons incident per unit time into eta into E. And now you notice that I have already defined number of photons incident per unit area per unit time. I think, is it right here? Okay, I think I can say this thing already, that NPH is, let us say, NPH is the total number of photons incident per unit time. NPH means no, total number of photons incident, total number of photons incident, not per unit area I'm talking about, incident on area A in time t. So it is already total. But I want to convert it into a number of photons incident per unit area. So how to convert in that form? Then I will write it as IS is equal to eta into number of photons incident per unit area. Let that be small n. let small NPH be number of photons incident per unit area. Then I will write it as small NPH, number of photons incident per unit area. This is photon incident per unit area into A perpendicular divided by time into E. Now you tell me, in this case, does it depend on frequency now? If I say A perpendicular same, E same, and because I said intensity same, and I have defined intensity as what? How I have defined intensity? I have defined intensity. I have defined I star. I have defined number of photons incident per unit area, that is NPH. NPH is already incident per unit area. This is already divided by area. See, NPH per unit time, per unit area per unit time, that is intensity. If I define in this way, then I will be writing IS as eta times this I star, this new intensity which I am defining, multiplied by A perpendicular into E. And if I don't change the orientation of area and the size of area, plate of the area, area of the plate, sorry, then I will be getting ISS independent of frequency. That is how most of the books are saying that it is independent of frequency. It is because how they have defined intensity as. So their intensity is not representing the energy per unit area per unit time, but their intensity is represented as, we can say this intensity is nothing but photon flux density, I can call it, if I want to say it that way. Photon flux density, number of photons striking per unit area per unit time. Photon flux density we can call, or simply just number of photons striking per unit area per unit time. That is enough. That is intensity. So notice in one case it is dependent on frequency, in other case it is not dependent. So now you may be confused that which to answer in the examination. Although in NCERT they have given this way only, so we can go for that only if there is no such option given. But if you find somewhere that intensity is given in watt per meter square, etc., and you are noticing that there is one case where they are saying it is not dependent on frequency, another case it depends on frequency, then I think depending upon frequency will be better, especially in those cases where intensity is already defined as watt per meter square. It has that unit. Then in those cases, definitely it will depend on the frequency. Okay. But a somewhat ambiguity is there in this particular, and then in this particular case. But overall, with time, as we'll be doing some problems, you will be getting experience that how to answer the questions. And
Sir,
in NCERT,
if they give only as intensity of light without any units, means which one to consider, sir?
That's why I'm saying it is ambiguity, and we cannot say.
In
That's why I'm saying it is.
Question,
That's why I'm saying it is ambiguous, and we cannot say properly that what intensity they are meaning in that. But in that case, if he is giving both options, number one, in which case he is giving that same frequency and different number of photons striking per unit time, something like that. If it is happening, then I will expect that if frequency is intensity is same, but if it has less frequency, then number of photons will become more, because we can then you follow that logic in inversely proportional frequency logic. That logic you follow. That when frequency increases, then the saturation current may decrease. If intensity is kept same, then you try to answer that. But when you don't see that option, in the absence of that option, then you go for this other thing, that it is independent of the frequency. What answer he has given?
He gave proportional to frequency, sir. Directly proportional. First, you said no, sir.
What do you mean? What directly proportional? Inverse.
IS is proportional to F.
Intensity. It cannot be proportional to F. I derived two relations. In one, it came out to be independent of F. In other, it came out to be something in denominator in F. What are you talking about really? How can it be proportional? That is impossible. You are saying something wrong, completely wrong. Which question you tell me?
I will say a complete question, sir. The frequency.
Which question you can tell me? Can you see here or not?
10th one.
10th one. Okay, right. The frequency and intensity of the light source are both doubled. Intensity doubled and frequency also doubled. He is very much clear that I2 is becoming 2 times I1. And I depends on number of photons striking per unit time, per unit area. So other things are remaining same. And HF means it is proportional to NHF. But when I is doubled and frequency is also doubled, then number of photons remains same. Do they remain same or not?
Yes, sir.
The number of photons incident remains same because I is doubled and frequency is also doubled. Then number I
Then,
can be doubled. I can be doubled by just doubling the frequency only. Or I can be doubled by just keeping the frequency same, but by doubling the N only. But in this case, he's doubling intensity by doubling the frequency. It means he's keeping the N to be same. If he's keeping N to be same, number of photons incident to be same, then what answer you expect?
then
If number of photons
saturated current
incident,
remains same.
yes, then saturation current must remain same.
Yeah, nothing.
Correct. That only has given or not?
Yes, sir.
So right only. Right
Yes,
only.
sir.
Then we expect the saturation. Then we expect the saturation current to be nearly same. Next, we have which other question you want? Okay, and this is enough of discussion on this. And yes, don't forget to. I was telling you something here in HCV.
Sir, intensity NHF.
This is very important. Intensity is not NHF, it is proportional to NHF. Really?
Yes, sir.
Now only I
No,
defined
sir.
revenue, I think it is NHF.
NHF by area into time.
Depends what is N. Yes, but is N, it depends on that. If I am already saying N is equal to number of photons incident per unit area per unit time, then it is NHF. It depends what I am defining N. I can say it is NHF if N is defined as number of photons incident per unit area per unit time already.
Yes, sir.
And A is also perpendicular area. A is also perpendicular area.
Yes.
Okay. Don't every point is important here. This 7 points. Please go through this properly. I have discussed, so I don't want to discuss again. But you should be remembering this and understanding everything, every bit of this. You don't have to learn anything. You have to understand everything in this, but you don't have to learn even one point. If you are learning it, means you are not understanding. That's why you are just trying to learn it. So wherever you feel the need to learn, it means you have not understood it. So please try to understand all these things. And if you are not finding something which understandable, you can ask me. Then these 3 points also, this paragraph I have made these here. This 1 point here, 2nd point, and 3rd point. These are very, very important, crucial points. Okay, so let me start from here. An electron may be ejected only. An electrode may be ejected only when it acquires energy more than the work function.
Same
Right? If it acquires more than the work function, then only it can be ejected. Otherwise, it will not be ejected. At least equal to work function, should be there. If we use low intensity source, then it may take long hours before an electron acquires this much energy from the light. That is true. True or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is true. Why is it true? Because see what thing we expect normally. We expect this thing here. This is the light is incident on this. First of all, no electron will be ejected. If it is a wave, if it is a continuous type of thing, no electron must be ejected at first when we switch on the light. And when the enough energy is acquired by over time by electrons, then all will be maybe getting ejected together, because after some time, when all the electrons are uniformly distributed here, right? So when one electron is capable of ejecting by gaining energy slowly, then other will also be capable of getting ejected by gaining energy slowly. But that doesn't happen. It means this gives us idea that it is not a continuous type of thing. It is discrete thing. It is thrown in quanta, so that when one quantum strikes with one electron, then that electron gets ejected and others just remain as it is. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is important point to be understood here. And then next. And there, he's saying that energy is also not sufficient. Means it will take long time. If we do the calculations properly and we notice that, let us say this is the size of electron. If I assume the size of electron to be equal to the size of atom also. If I assume size of electron equal to the size of atom also, and I give a very low intensity light, then by doing the calculation, I can see that how much energy will be spread over this area. if I know how much energy is spread over this area, and I have already done the calculation that intensity into area will be the energy incident per unit time, and that energy incident again, I have to divide that intensity into the that energy I have to give to one atom, and that when that atom receives that energy, then it will be able to eject the electron. But we notice after calculations here directly, I'm not calculating it for you, so you may be finding it that okay, we are still not understanding, because you will understand only after doing a little bit of calculation, and then you will find it that yes, it really needs a lot of time to make even one electron getting ejected from the surface. You can do that calculation once, and you can see by assuming the radius of atom, and if you assume that how much light should fall on that atom, and what will be take the area of atom. What will be the area of atom? Take area of atom to be pi r square, where r you can take as hydrogen atom has size of 10 to the power minus 10 meters. Think like that. Then find out the area of that and use the intensity of very low intensity. For example, you can take intensity to be 1 milliwatt per meter square. Something like that you take intensity. Then this intensity multiplied by the area. What we have to do? Intensity multiplied by area. Let me do it fast. I can do it, I think so. 10 to the power minus 3 multiplied by area. Area is, I have taken pi into r square. R square means it will become 10 to the power minus 10 squared. So how much is this? That is coming out to be 10 raised to power minus 23 into pi, right or not? That will be the energy received per unit time. What is this representing now? Intensity when multiplied by area, then it gives us energy received per unit time. So this is the energy received by one atom per unit time. Once we know that energy received is so less, 10 to the power minus 23 into pi, and let us see how much energy one electron will need to be ejected. The electron which is getting ejected, how much energy does it need? It needs energy equal to work function. And what is the typical work function of certain metals? I think for some it is 1.3 electron volt, for some it is 1. Let me take some example. 2 electron volt for one he's taking. Let us take 2 electron volt. So 2 electron volt means how much energy? 2 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. What is that energy? That energy will be equal to 3.2 into 10 to the power minus 19 joules. And how much we need here? How much we need per unit time here? Per unit time we are getting 10 to the power minus 23 into pi. In 1 second we are getting that. Then how many seconds do we need to make one electron getting ejected? You can do the calculation. You can see. Does it really need a lot of time or not? Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that it really needs a lot of time to make even one electron getting ejected? Because we are finding out the energy that atom is receiving, and although we can think this also, that electron may not have the area of the total atom, but I'm assuming let it be having total area of the atom also. Then also it is not able to gain that enough energy to be able to make the to be able to get out. That electron still does not get that much energy. Still it has lesser energy. But then how it happens that once we switch on the light, at that time only electrons comes ejected outside? It happens because of the reason that the photons carry energy in discrete fashion in quantum, and it is like one quantum, like one marble strikes the another marble, then that will be able to eject that. It is something like that. It is like a collision of a with a particle. Understood? Okay. Means it is concentrated form of energy. No, it is not a continuous form of energy. It is a concentrated form of energy, not spread uniformly. And when that chunk of energy comes, that has sufficient energy, that photon has sufficient energy, so that it may be able to eject the electron outside. Right. We will find out after some time that what are these energies. But now you understand it. These are of the order of electron volts. These are energy of the order of 2 electron volts. Anyway, if you understood one point at least, next point. Okay, right. One is done. Second point. The maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectron does not depend on the intensity of the incident light. Does it depend on the intensity of the incident light?
No.
Independent.
No, sir.
Does not depend on the intensity of the the maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectron does not depend on the intensity of the incident light. This is okay. Yes, right. Yes, if wave theory is correct, then more intensity means more energy. More energy means more kinetic energy should be obtained, right? Normally we will think that way. If we think like in wave theory, if more energy is incident, then electron should gain more energy, and then if it gains more energy, then it should be able to gain more kinetic energy also, which is incorrect.
Sir, why
Then
even
this one. What?
Why? Once explain why.
Kinetic energy not going to
If more intensity more means energy more, energy means the kinetic energy obtained by the electron should be more. Simple logic, but that doesn't happen. It means it is not a continuous form of energy. It is a discrete form of energy. It is in quanta. That's why the wave theory fails again here. It is not able to explain the second point. The maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectron does not depend on the intensity. This is our observation, and that observation also is valid only because we are treating it to be like particle. But if we treat it like a wave, a continuous form of energy, wave means it just think like a continuous form of energy. If we think it as a continuous form of energy and not discrete particles of energy, then more energy means more intensity means more energy. More energy means more kinetic energy gained by the electrons. Understood? But now we know that intensity can be made more by increasing n or by increasing f also. If I increase number n, then by increasing number n, energy will become more, but that energy will be more not because of energy per unit electron. That energy will be because more number of electrons will get ejected. More number of electrons are getting ejected. That's why here also in photoelectric effect also more intensity means it will be able to provide more energy. But if we increase n, then only. Okay.
Yes,
and in
sir.
that also each electron will not gain more energy. Number of electrons will become more. So total energy will become more. But energy per electron may remain same.
Same.
Okay. Right. Third point. The dependence of maximum kinetic energy on the wavelength is also against the wave theory. There should not be any threshold wavelength according to the wave. Yes, right. Wave theory says that if it is a continuous form of energy, then make it incident for long and wait for more time. Even if wavelength is less, energy is less, then also no problem. In case of wave theory also, we know that intensity depends on the square of frequency. Do you know that or not? In waves, if you remember the formula for the intensity of the mechanical waves, then you already know this fact. That intensity, you don't know the formula. If you revise it again, you will see that in that intensity was coming out to be proportional to the square of frequency. So that was a well-known fact in the wave theory also, that intensity will depend on frequency. But wait a second, was it proportional to square of frequency or I myself only I'm confused. It is proportional to frequency or square? What was the formula there? Half of rho into a square into omega into v, I think, or omega square into v. Let me check once. Intensity formula. Was it a omega square or? For the string, it is easy to find out. For string, it is half into mu into a square into omega square. It is that. I think here it was proportional to, for the string at least it is proportional to omega square. I know that. For the string, it is proportional to the square of frequency also. Okay. So anyway, other formula may be something else, half into, but for string, we know it is easy to derive also. And by dimensional analysis also we can check. Anyway. So that thing was already known fact, that intensity will be more if frequency is more. It was known fact. But we were not expecting that if I decrease the frequency and then I keep on increasing the intensity, for a given frequency, if I keep on increasing the intensity, nowadays it is possible that we know that if frequency is becoming less and we are increasing the intensity, then we know it means the number of photons are increasing. But we were not able to explain such things because at that time we had not even defined the number of photons. We were not even knowing what photons is. Nowadays we understand all these things. At that time it was we were not able to understand why it happens. Wave theory is not able to explain the reasons behind the threshold wavelength. Okay, because according to wave theory, if I give lesser frequency or maybe lesser intensity, then by lesser intensity I have to wait for more time. But then also by waiting for more time, I may still be able to eject the electron. but it does not depend on time. And we already, that first point also, we know that it quickly, instantaneously, the electrons gets ejected. So these 3 points are important points by which we can contradict the wave theory, and therefore the particle theory again comes into picture. But nowadays, because Young's double slit experiment is also there and this is also there, so we believe the dual nature of light. And after knowing the dual nature of light, then we came to understand the dual nature of matter also. And we understood that not only the light acts as a wave as well as particle, the electrons also act as a particle as well as wave. And this is the wavelength of that electron, lambda is equal to h by p. We call it as de Broglie wavelength. This is it, what we have done so far. Today, I will be moving on beyond that, and some important topic I will like to take today, and that is very important now, and I have to take where here I should take. Let us check here. Did you see those constants? Yesterday I told you some constants you have to see from some books. Have you written those constants or not? Not written so far. Huh?
No, no.
Next we, okay, let's see. Next we have what? Pressure. Pressure due to electromagnetic wave. When photons are incident, they can exert pressure, they can exert force, because they carry momentum. If they carry momentum, then when this photons will strike the mirror, initially photon was coming with momentum p, going back with momentum p, angle of incidence theta, angle of reflection theta. Then what is the change in momentum? Obviously, p cos theta into 2, that's the change in momentum. Right or not?
Yes, sir.
And we know formula for energy. Let me write down the formulas, which I will be using now quickly. Energy formula for the photon momentum into C. Photon momentum into C is energy formula. And what is the formula for this? Is valid for single photon, and it is valid for n number of photons also. If I have one photon, then I can write momentum as h by lambda. If I have n photons, then momentum, net momentum will become nh by lambda. So you consider it as a net momentum. I will just write it as p only, but this p is net momentum, and that includes the momentum of n photon. It is not momentum of just one photon. That's why it is the total energy of n photons. Okay, we can say it is the total energy of n photons rather than saying it is energy of one photon. If I write formula this way, then it becomes total energy of n photons, but the formula still remains same. It remains Pc. But if I want to find intensity, then intensity formula is energy per unit. I told already that intensity dot area will be power, I think, right? That is power. Intensity into area will be power. Which power? It could be power incident or it could be the net power. Depends on the fact. If I have a point source here and I have this area and the light is coming out from here in all directions. And if I do one thing now, if I take this intensity vector here, this is area vector dA, and this is the intensity vector radially outwards it is going, intensity vector. And if I take I dot dA and I integrate into the closed surface, like the way we find out the flux of the electric field, you know, same way. In the closed loop, if I find, then it will give us the total power of the source enclosed. That is this. But if I don't do that, and if I take one portion in this area I am taking, and now I'm finding out I dot dA, and that is not a closed surface area, that is just red area. What should I call it now? I should represent it by, let us say this total area was, what should I call it? I cannot even call like triangle ABC, it is something else only. Okay, maybe it is area A. Okay, then I will write it as effectively this is also equal to power, but this power is now what? This power is power incident on that area. This was also power incident only actually, but it was incident on closed area. And if it is incident on closed area, then we know whatever power was being produced here, obviously that only will be getting incident on this closed area or not. If there are no losses in between, power is not getting lost and getting consumed into some other form, if the rays are spreading like that only freely in the space, then this will be valid. Then this will also become power of source. But now it is not a power of source here. It is just power incident on that area. But it cannot be regarded as power of source because this is not the total area. Understood or not? Say something. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Only one boy
Yes, sir.
remaining understanding?
Sir.
Yes,
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because there should not be any doubt. If there is any doubt, you ask it, okay? Because I cannot see your faces, I cannot see your expressions also. So I am dependent on only your feedback to me. If you are giving me feedback, I can clarify it in a better way. If you are giving me feedback that you are not understanding, but you have to tell me something first, okay? If you are understanding, then fine, then we can move on. Then no need to wait. So right. So this is it. Now don't worry about this complication that what is doing, and some people will see this closed integral and they will get worried. It's a very simple thing. It is just, we can say, flux of intensity through the closed surface area can be regarded as the power incident on that closed surface area, and that is also equal to the power incident total. So it is also equal to power of the source. Simple. Now next, and here I'm taking intensity not as a, remember I'm taking intensity as a vector, and whenever we are taking it as a vector, then I should know its direction. So what is this direction? Its direction in the direction of ray propagation. Its direction is in the direction of the propagation of the ray. Okay, understand that. And area vector is, as our convention says, we take area vector pointing outwards, not inwards. Otherwise, it will give us negative power. Obviously, negative power is completely stupid thing. That is not possible. So it is positive power only. So it is power coming out of that area. It is power coming out of that area. If somebody is giving light from outside and power is entering into it, then obviously power will be becoming negative, and negative power will be not indicating that power is negative. That will be simply indicating that power is entering, not exiting. Okay, it will be indicating that. Anyway, I dot dA is this. Now I will take simple possible cases first of all. For example, okay, wait, I wanted to correlate it with energy. Can we correlate now? Power we are getting. Power is also known as energy incident per unit time. Power is just dE by dt, right? That is a energy incident per unit time. Or if I write simply total energy upon total time, that's the power incident on that area. This is it. So I can write energy equal to, now I will take a simple case. What is a simple case? When area is not, when intensity does not vary on that area, intensity on the area everywhere is constant, and angle between the intensity and area is also constant. Means a plane surface area and constant intensity. Assuming plane surface area and constant intensity. I told you when the constant intensity will be there. If it is coming from a very far away point source, then intensity will be nearly constant. For example, sun rays are falling on the ground on a horizontal area, then this satisfies our condition, both conditions, plane surface area and constant intensity. And if that happens, then our formula becomes I vector constant now, and dot dA, I can take just dot outside and dA vector integral, and that will be just equal to I into area, I dot A. That is energy per unit time. So what is energy coming out to be? Total energy incident. Energy incident is equal to I into area, or I could call it as dE by dt also. Okay, that is also okay, no problem. dE by dt I will call, and then I will write it as, what is E? E is, by the way, P into C. Now see what nice thing we are getting here. dP by dt is equal to I dot A. What is dP by dt? Change in momentum. You know that I can write E as P into C. This again, this P is the net momentum. P is
Momentum of photons.
Momentum of n photons. Okay. It is not momentum. It is the total momentum of the photons which are incident and invert time. It is momentum of photons incident in time dt, because these are corresponding terms. It is energy incident in time dt. It is momentum incident in time dt. Momentum. dp I should say. What is dp? dp means change in momentum in time dt. Change in momentum in time dt. In time dt. And why this change? This change is because of the reason the photons are coming and then they are going back. So many things can happen here. Last time I gave a simplified view only. What things can happen? Let's say I have this kind of situation here. Some photons may get absorbed, some may get reflected, some may get transmitted. So reflection, absorption, transmission. And one more thing is also there. See, there are so many things. Emission.
Reflect.
Emission means, what is meaning of emission? Emission
Heat
means
radiation.
because of its own heat radiation. That is because of its own body temperature. Not because these incident photons will not be emitted. It will be absorbed. Temperature will increase, and because of the temperature, now it will emit according to the black body radiation or whatever it is, whatever kind of body it is. That kind of emission it will be. Emission will be uniformly in all the directions. If this body has uniform properties in all sides, in that case. So all these things are possible. So at least let us simplify it a little bit, because there are so many things coming out to be here. So not to confuse ourselves, we will take three things at a time now. Let us say reflection, absorption, and transmission. Okay. Otherwise also the emitted photons, those photons will have different momentum, because if you remember that black body radiation chapter, then you know that all the different kinds of photons are emitted with different wavelengths and different intensities. So in that case, I cannot even determine what will be the momentum of each photon which is being emitted. It will become very difficult. So let us ignore that part and let us simplify it. And I am not worried about emission right now. I am just thinking about incident, I incident, A absorption, R reflection, T transmission. If P momentum is incident, then what reflection? What is reflection meaning here? Let us say reflected photon momentum was PR and incident. It is not single momentum, by the way. It is including all the, means if n number of photons are incident here, n incident, and n are n reflected, and n a n absorbed, and n t n transmitted. Then you can say R is the reflection coefficient. The reflection coefficient means number of reflected photons upon number of incident photons, and A means number of absorbed photons upon number of incident photons, and transmission coefficient. Transmission coefficient means absorption coefficient, reflection coefficient, transmission coefficient. Transmission coefficient means number of transmitted photons upon number of incident photons. But we know that momentum is proportional to the number of photons. P is proportional to the number. If incident momentum, then incident proportional to incident, because what is PI? PI will become equal to PI will be equal to Ni into HF. You agree with this or not? F is the frequency, and that frequency remains same. We know that. Do we know or not? That frequency remains same, right? For the transmission, for the reflection, for the absorption, it is same only. So therefore, because HF will get cancelled, so I can say it will be just a proportional to PR upon PI also, PT upon PI also, and this is also equal to P absorbed upon P incident. We can think in this. Now, keeping these ideas in mind, we will use these now, and let me put these in a box. I will be using these here, right? Right, we will be using this. So here, very important formula we are getting now, and I don't know you are noticing those or not. These are means learning, remembering, and all these things should be there. E is equal to PC, very important. And what P means, if you know the formula but you don't know what P means, then again, what is I use? This power we are writing in what a wonderful way in integration. P is equal to I into dA integral, right? And these all these things means, okay, this you can see again, you can refer again. So no problem, I am not that much worried. Next. What next? Okay, we wanted to mainly see, we started where we started with the pressure and the force exerted. And we know before telling that, I started relating that how energy is related to the momentum. And why I'm interested in momentum? Because force has to do something with momentum. Change in momentum per unit time will be the force exerted on the photons. And if we know what is the force exerted on the photons, then we can find out what is the force exerted on the glass slab or on whatever thing the photons are hitting. We can find out the force on those also. Reason is because it action and reaction pair, we can think. Means whatever force is exerted on the photons, its reaction will be exerted on the material on which the photons are striking, right? Therefore, we are doing all this. We are trying to relate the things. And so far, we have reached these few conclusions here. And here, one very important relation, and this also we should know, power incident. And when power incident is also equal to power of the source, but always it is not equal to the power of source. In this case, it is equal to the power of source if it is a total closed surface area and there is no other loss in between, and the total power of that as it is reaching up to the surface. Then, now, right. Next. Just come to now. I think we are ready with our things. Now we can do it easily now. We already know all the things now. So what is the momentum reflected here? PR. What will be PR? PR can be written as R into P. PR is R into P. And what is this thing? This thing will become NT into NT into P. No, sorry. What am I doing here? Not NT into P. T into P. T into P. Momentum will be T into P. And momentum of incident was Ni into P. Ni into P is the momentum of incident. And momentum of absorbed is Na into P. That is the momentum of absorbed one. These four momentum we have to focus on. And angle of incidence is theta. Transmission is, let us say, at an angle theta. Remaining absorbed. So can you tell me what is the change in momentum along y-axis and along x-axis? We can find out. Let us find first along y-axis. Final minus initial momentum. Final momentum along y-axis is Tp cos theta. Tp cos theta or not? Finally, downwards momentum along y-axis. It is downwards, okay. We can put with minus sign, but I'm interested in magnitude only. Final momentum along y-axis is this. What else is final momentum along y? Due to NR, due to reflected also. So minus Rp cos theta. That is correct or not? Final momentum along y. This is a glass slab, by the way. You are thinking that why this angle is same, because it is just a glass slab, and if it is a rectangular glass slab, and then I think you know that this angle of incidence and angle of transmission will be finally same, right or not?
Yes, sir.
No, not right. It will be same only. It will be same.
Correct only, sir.
Tp cos theta minus Rp cos theta. Any other thing remaining? And absorbed one will be, it is final momentum along y. What is initial momentum along y? Initial momentum along y was Ni, that is P, total P into cos theta. That is the, which will be more? Initially will be more along y downwards, and finally will be becoming less. So I think I should not do like this. I should take, I am interested in change in magnitude of the momentum. So I should probably take it as, this thing is okay, I think so. P cos theta minus of this. Yes, right. That is a change in momentum. So it is becoming P cos theta into 1 plus R minus T. 1 plus R minus T. That is a change in momentum along y-axis. Right. So if I know that, then I can find out dpy divided by dt. That will become equal to what I was doing here. It was intensity that I have a relation here. Change in momentum per unit time. Let us say it is already in unit time dt only. It is already in dt time. So I have to just divide by dt this thing. P cos theta into 1 plus R minus T upon dt. That thing. If I multiply this change in momentum per unit time with C, if I multiply it with C, then what do I get? Then I get, see here what we are getting here, this thing here, you observe it. dp by dt into C, that is equal to I dot A. So I will be getting I dot A. So let us do that at last. This multiplied by C, C into dpy divided by dt is equal to, there it was net P, I think so, right? It was net P. It is just Py. It's not that. Not that. Okay, let me multiply by C, but anyway. So C into P by dt. C into P by dt, that will be into cos A into 1 plus R minus C. This is extra term, spare term. But C into P by dt will give us something. What it will give us if I multiply by C? Multiplying
I dot A.
by C. So this thing we are getting C into force along y-axis. C into force along y-axis is this. And Cp by dt was I dot A. Now I can write it as I dot A. Intensity dot area into cos theta into 1 plus R minus T, and here C into Fy. What is I dot A? I and A has what angle? I is in this side and area vector will be along this side. So angle will be cos theta. So I into means I dot A will become, area is theta. So I dot A will become cos theta. So it is becoming I into A into cos square theta into 1 plus R minus T. That is it. Which is equal to C into Fy. So what is force along y-axis per unit area? That is equal to pressure, which we are getting at last. I by C into cos square theta into 1 plus R minus T, right? This is pressure. Don't worry at all. Don't worry. I will simplify it a little bit. This is just a beginning. I'm telling you all the things. Okay. Right now, you just see only what are the things going on here, and don't even worry about it. I will simplify it a lot, because why I will simplify and how I have chance to simplify it and why I'm not simplifying it. I want to tell you the details first. After that, what you are interested with mainly. You are interested not in the transmission cases. Mostly, you are interested in this. It is getting reflected and getting so some part getting absorbed, and in that also mostly you are interested in completely absorbed. If it is completely absorbed, then R will become just 0, no reflect, nothing reflected, and one part you will be interested completely reflected. If it is completely reflected, then R will be just 1 only. Mostly you are interested in these simple cases. In that it will be very simple formula at last, and I will be writing those also. From here we can obtain although. Okay, let us write here. If it is for opaque bodies, opaque means which are not transparent. What will be for opaque bodies? What will be this formula for opaque bodies? For opaque bodies, then T will become 0. Nothing will be transmitted. So transmission coefficient will become 0. Then pressure will become, what will be the pressure? Just I by C into cos square theta into 1 plus R. What will be the formula for, this is for opaque, one case, case 2. For perfect mirror, for pure perfect reflection, for a perfect reflector, like R will become 1 and A will become 0. Nothing absorption. R is 1 and A is 0. Then it will become this pressure will become, what will be the pressure? Pressure will become, we call it radiation pressure, by the way. Name is because it is because of the radiation pressure. Radiation pressure will become I by C into cos square theta into 2. R is 1 because, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
2 only. Next, third case, special cases we are taking. See, we are interested mainly in special cases. So it is simple. This is important for you. This is very important here now. Most of the students remember this formula. Although it will be much better if you can derive it every time. But now, if you don't have that much time, and especially if you want to derive it, then I recommend you derive by this way only. But with little change. What change? I took the general case where I took all these things. You don't do all that. You do this thing only. If you want to derive the formula, you derive only by taking mirror and by taking P, and this is RP and this is theta and this is theta. Then change will become, what will be change in this case? In this case, change will be just equal to P cos theta into 1 plus R. And then after that, you start writing.
Along x-axis, we should not consider.
We should. I'm finding out pressure. Pressure is actually why pressure means perpendicular only. That will be stress, shear stress. I will be coming to that also. Okay, I'm just finding out perpendicular pressure. Okay, that parallel one will be there. Why it won't be there? It will be there also. That also is the second part of it. But right now you forget that. Right now you just focus on this perpendicular one. So this perpendicular pressure is obtained. Next, what is remaining? I found for perfect reflector, but I did not find for a perfect perfect absorber also I should find. For perfect absorber, then R will become 0 and A will become 1, and the formula of P will become equal to what it is. I think I by C
I by
say
C into cos
something
square
you are
theta.
that only because R is 0 and T already it was transparent, obvious. Sorry, it is a perfect absorber, then it has to be T also 0, obviously. T automatically should be 0 only. Okay. For opaque bodies also T is 0. For a perfect reflector also T will be 0 because it is a perfect reflector. So then also T is 0. Right. So we are getting simply I by C cos square theta. These two are important results as compared to others. These two. 2I by C cos square theta and I by C cos square theta. Or this is also good enough. We can remember. If we remember this from here only, we will be getting the other two also. Okay. This transparent body is the least important, I think I should say. Not that much useful, but I will take one example if time allows. I will take one for transparent case also. I will take that also. Okay. So this is all done so far. Next, I would like to take a case. Is it a general case? We have not discussed the most general case. Most general case will be where I don't have to use. It is very much simplified because I have taken I dot A. Imagine if I don't take I dot A and if I take I dot dA integral. That is also possible. When can I take that? If I take a sphere and it's incident on a sphere, and I will be coming to those cases. Those cases can be dealt easily. If you know this case only, then that case can be dealt easily. Don't worry about that at all. Number that Chandan's case. What is Chandan's case? Chandan is saying, sir, why are you not taking along x-axis? Chandan, I'm coming for that now. Okay. So let us, where we left that y. Here we started with y only. Now come to this diagram again, and you tell me if you have really understood it. Then you will be able to tell me what is the change in momentum along x. Tell me, please. Chandan, you have to tell what is the change in momentum along x. Now you are silent. You were telling me that, sir, I should take change in momentum along x also.
P sin theta into R
P
minus
sin
R.
theta minus R cos theta.
P
R
sin
sin
See,
theta minus
let me draw a diagram here. This is coming with the P and going that side with the
RP.
PR, and this side it is going P into T, and this angle is theta, and this angle is also theta. This is a simplified diagram.
P sin theta into 1 minus R minus T.
And one thing I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned here only. Remember, I think you understand also, although, and we can prove from here quickly, R plus A plus T total will be always equal to 1. You understand that? That will be total 1. Why it will be total 1? Because Ni will be equal to Nr plus Na plus Nt. So definitely total will be equal to 1 only, right? R plus A plus T will be equal to always 1. Therefore, if I know R and T, then don't ask what is A. That is understood what is A. It is understood already. Okay, right. Where are we? Here we are. Px, delta Px. Delta Px is equal to,
P
as
sin
you
theta
were saying something, P sine theta minus
minus RP sin theta
Rp sine theta minus
minus
PT
PP sin theta.
PT sine theta. This case, PT sine theta, see, I'm very simplified case I'm taking. I'm taking a glass slab. What if I don't take a glass slab? What if I take a prism? But I hope if you understand the basic, you can go for that also. And it will not be tough. Because always we will do in the same way only, the way we are doing it here. This is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. Method is same. So what is the change in momentum at last? P into sine theta taken common 1 minus R minus T. Simple. Delta Px, or we can say dPx. What now divide by dt, and as you already know that multiply by C also. This is Fx multiply by C. Then we get Cp by dt and into sine theta into 1 minus R minus T. What is that at last? See, this E is equal to PC here, right? E is equal to PC. So I think here I'm doing it wrong when I'm saying this. Sorry, this I should not. Oh my God, I was having a mistake here. Here dp is not the change in momentum. Here dp was momentum dent per unit time. Change may be something else, but it is just momentum incident per unit time. Why it is momentum incident per unit time? Because we are relating it with energy. If E is energy incident per unit, see, this formula comes from here, power. Power is energy incident per unit time. Then this energy was, E was energy incident per unit time. Then corresponding momentum also should be meaning same thing only, no? It will also be momentum incident per unit time. Therefore, we are doing all this. We are converting, change in momentum is here in the left hand side, but we are converting it into momentum incident per unit time. Otherwise, I will directly start writing dp by dx as something in terms of E, but that I cannot do. I will have to convert it into momentum incident per unit time. Now, P was the momentum incident and in dt time. So it is already momentum incident in dt time. Okay. Therefore, P upon dt becomes momentum incident per unit time. And now this, once we get this thing, C into P by dt. Now, although I'm not writing it at delta P, but it is same thing only. Means it is like E upon time. What is it at last? It is as we did before, Cp upon dt. What I have to write it? Cp upon dt. What was it? You
I
boys
into-
are. I dot.
I bar dot A.
You know what is the reason? Do you think that if I'm capable of doing all this stuff, I don't remember these things and I have to go back again? Although sometimes that happens in reality also. But most often I'm observing your reaction. I'm thinking that somebody will like to tell me that, sir, it is this. Are you really following or not? If you know, then you can tell me. You are not remembering these things. I want you to remember really. Cp by dt, what is it? What that will be?
Power.
E.
IS. I bar dot
IA,
I dot A.
I dot A or I dot dA.
I
Same
dot
here
integral
because-
dA or I dot A, sir?
Yes, in this case, same, because for our case, I dot dA integral is also equal to I dot A because our area is constant, angle is constant. Neither angle is changing nor area is changing. So it is perfectly fine. If I give this kind of situation, here point source is there and the light is falling in this way, then obviously I dot dA I have to take no integral. Or if I give that kind of situation where although light rays are coming from one side only, but area is in different directions, then also I have to take I dot dA. So otherwise here I don't have to do that, and I will just I dot A will be enough. I dot A next. What next? Into sine
into sin theta into 1 minus r minus t.
Into 1 minus R minus
1 minus r minus t is equal to c. C is here only, c into fx. Then what is fx? Fx is coming out to be equal to I
I by
dot
c
A
into-
divided by I dot A. Okay, write it also. Open it. What I can write I dot A? I dot A can be written as I into A cos theta into sin theta is already there, into 1 minus r minus t is there, divided by c is there now. And sin 2 theta I can write it if I want, or I can leave it here like this also. So I will write it as maybe sin 2 theta. Okay. Then I will be getting it as I into A by 2c into sin 2 theta into 1 minus r minus t. That is fx. I can ask this simple question here itself, that how should I make the rays incident so that the shear stress becomes maximum? And you can check it here.
Inclined
Shear
at 45 degrees.
Shear stress, yes, when it is inclined at an angle 45 degree, then that shear stress will become maximum. Then that tangential stress will become maximum. And I will not divide by area to write it as shear stress. Force upon area is shear stress. How do I represent shear stress? I represent here sigma tau, I think, sigma tau. And the last thing I can represent as sigma n. Let us call it sigma n, normal stress. And that is shear stress. Okay. Although it is not shear stress, by the way. Yes, I can call it shear stress also. Is there any problem? Yes, I can call it. No problem in that. Right. If I assume this mirror is at rest only, and in one side this tangential stress is acting, then I should understand that other side also equal will be acting in opposite direction. Then it will be like a shear only. But if I just say in one direction only it is acting, then that shear will be something else. There also it will be shear stress, but it will be somewhat different. But yes, I can call it shear stress anyway. So sigma tau is equal to f upon a. What is that? Fx upon a. That is coming out to be I upon 2c into sine 2 theta into 1 minus r minus t. Little difficult to remember these formulas, so better to know the derivation. And I think I remember. If you ask me which formula I remember, then I don't remember any of these actually. But this one I try to remember mostly, because this one is very much useful here. This I'm telling now, this one we use it many times. These ones which I am telling you, these are just So I'm telling you, but although I don't find many questions on this, so even if you don't know, not a problem. But if you know, then much better. Okay, this, and I will use it in one place, in fact, but I will not use this. I will use a special case of it. What special case I will use? I will use that case when it is opaque body and T is 0. And in that, again, I will take two cases more. What two cases? As I was doing before only. For opaque bodies, first of all, for opaque bodies, that is case 1. What does it become? Then T becomes 0. Then sigma tau becomes equal to shear stress. Shear stress sigma tau becomes equal to what? I by 2c into sine 2 theta into 1 minus r only. Is it right
Yes, sir.
or not? Then,
Yes, sir.
sorry. Next one. What other cases now? As we were doing last time, same way. Tell me other cases. Case 2. What is the next case?
Perfect reflector.
Perfect reflector.
Let us take perfect reflector. So for perfect reflector, what do we get? Then we get sigma tau is equal to I by 2c into sine 2 theta. R becomes 1 into 0. 0, right? It is just 0 only. And third case, for perfect absorber. For perfect absorber, sigma tau is equal to I by 2c into sine 2 theta into R is 0 and A is equal to 1 and T is equal to 0. So it is, what is it?
Into 1.
Into 1?
Yes, sir.
This only, right? So this will be helpful for us if we remember main formula, and from there we can get all these others also. So, right, sigma tau also we are getting. And this is what we discussed here. We discussed the pressure, and sometimes the question is asked in another way. They say like this, that we have a hanging mirror here. In SC Verma also he has asked such questions. We have a hanging mirror and one pulse of photon comes. Means a very highly energetic pulse of laser pulse that is made to strike the mirror. What maximum angle will it go after that? So this will be conservation of momentum principle I have to use here. One case is this, where high energetic impulse is there. Another case is when there is no such high energetic impulse, but there is just continuous rays. When there is a continuous ray, then you balance by the force due to the pressure,
method,
which we found before. And one is due to mg downwards, and force due to pressure will be now again radiation pressure. How to find out if we want to consider the angles also into account? But because these angles will be so small, this obviously it is a mirror and this is just radiation pressure. Angle cannot be expected to be large. As long as angle is small, then I can take the mirror to be nearly normal only, and I can say that it is normally only incident. And in that particular case, I will be just assuming it to be normally only reflected back. And if that is happening, then we know 2I by C. What formula we got? You remember or not? 2I by C cos square theta.
Into cos square theta.
But cos square theta will become 1, because if it is
1.
normally incident, theta will be approximately 0 degree.
0.
Then it will be just 2I by C into area. That is this side force. And mg is downward force. Can you find out the angles now from here? We can find out easily, I think. And we can find out tension T also. T is nearly equal to mg. T will be nearly equal to mg only, because this will be small force. But angle theta will be there, even if it is small. But that angle is noticeable angle. And we can conduct such experiment to find out that angle also. And what that angle will be, you can find it out by this. Can you do it now or not? Just can do it, I think so. Can you do it? Force balance only, simple. Just balance the force along vertical, balance along vertical, balance along horizontal. But this was one case. When it is continuous rays are falling, continuous rays falling on mirror. And what we have to find here? We have to find the angle made by the, find angle theta. Simply I'm writing in short form and you understand what does it mean. Okay, verbally I explained everything. But second question was different. That was highly energetic pulse of photons, pulse of energy E. energy E is made to incident. Is incident, I can say, is incident on mirror. Incident. But it is just a pulse. Means it is short duration pulse also, we can say highly energetic short duration pulse. Short duration pulse. It is not a continuous wave. It is just a wave pulse of energy is incident on mirror. Now you have to tell what angle it will make maximum. Now it will be like that will hit it, reflect back, but now it will go away and it will oscillate like a pendulum. So what maximum height it will attain? That we can obtain by knowing this formula. If you know what is, let us say it has mass m and momentum acquired is p, then we can say p upon m will be velocity obtained. Once I know the velocity, I can get the kinetic energy also, p squared by 2m, and that will be equal to mg into h. H can be written as L into
R
1
into
minus cos
L into 1
theta,
minus cos theta.
and cos 1 minus cos theta can be written as 2 sin square theta by 2, which can be written as L into theta square by 2 approximately, because you know sin theta, 2 sin square theta by 2 can be written as 2 into theta by 2 whole square approximately, which is nothing but theta square by 2. So we can write it in this way, L into theta square by 2, that is h. Then I am getting theta from here or not? But I should know momentum acquired by it, and that momentum acquired by it I will get by the conservation of linear momentum. I know this pulse of energy E came and it gets reflected back. With what energy it will be reflected back? That is now obviously not energy E, but here in this particular case, if I ignore that there will be some energy difference here, why there will be energy difference? Can you find out the reason for the energy difference? Energy difference will be there because it is losing some energy and it cannot create energy and without any losses. So energy reflected will be less. And if energy reflected is less, then there will be some different frequency which will be reflected back. If it is of incident frequency is F, then the color which will be reflected back will be of different color, slightly different frequency. Red color will appear like red only, but if we use a detector, then we will be able to detect it that it is not of same frequency now, it is slightly changed from that. But let us ignore that change because it will be approximately equal to that only. So then I can say it is nearly equal to E only. It is reflected back with E. But we know we can calculate the momentum from E. And what is the formula? E by C is the momentum. Then momentum incident was E by C. And what is the momentum reflected? Again, approximately E by C. Not exactly E by C, approximately E by C. Then what is the change in momentum? Change in momentum is 2E by C. Then that change in momentum will also be equal to that is like impulse, and that same impulse will be acting on the other. So that will be equal to the momentum P acquired by the mirror. You are not understanding this, then I can make you understand in another way. E by C is the incident momentum plus momentum of mirror 0. Initial momentum is this. Final momentum of the mirror P, and finally momentum of that is minus E by C. Then what is the P momentum acquired by the mirror? That momentum acquired by the mirror is 2E by C. Understood now? Say something.
Yes, sir.
Then once you know the momentum acquired by the mirror, use the conservation of energy to get the height obtained by it, and height obtained will also give us the angle turned. I hope you got it now.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And if possible, stay just for one last question. After that, I'm leaving you. This last thing I should explain, I think. After that, I will definitely leave you. This is important, so I should explain it. I will take one example where I have a sphere, opaque sphere. And in this opaque sphere, light rays are incident here in this way, and the light is getting absorbed completely. If light is getting absorbed completely, what is the force exerted on the sphere of radius r? And the intensity of the light ray is I. What is the force exerted on the sphere of radius r? Absorption is 1. R is 0 and no transmission, obviously. If A is already 1, then it means it is a perfect absorber. Let us see now you can do it or not. One case. Second case is perfect reflector. R is 1. Both cases you have to do. Can I apply directly I dot I into A here?
We should take pi r square as area, sir. If we do like
Yes,
that.
very good. This boy is very smart. He understands the things properly, right? Oh my God. Very nice. Very nice. Sometimes I really appreciate you, but sometimes you know you just keep on saying the things without thinking, I think so. It is really very good. This way we have done in the fluids also. Those who are new to my class and they have not understood how we do it. See, it is very simple. Don't worry. Sometimes we don't have to integrate. Without integration also we can get the answers. Our relation was I dot dA integral. But let me go back. Here, where was that here? this here. From here to here, I'm going by this, but I can write it in this way also. I dot dA integral whole multiplied by something, whatever it is. In other terms, I will write as it is. So no problem. Then also cos theta into 1 plus r minus t, whatever it is. But I can write it as I dot, sorry, here it will be tough. It will not be minus t. That t will have, but I don't have t, no? Then it is no problem. Then I can just take it like this only. Because it is opaque body. T, because why I'm worried about t? Because the transmitted light may not be going at an angle theta, and this formula was only valid when transmitted light is going at an angle theta. So therefore, but t is already 0 only, so we don't have to worry. R is already 0 only, so we don't have to worry. It is just equal to this, right or not? Now here, understand this thing here now, that if I want to take I dot dA, cos theta will be there or not there? Wait a second, let me check once again. Oh, no need to go back. Let us derive it here only. We don't have to see there. We will derive it here only. It will not take much time. Let us take a dA here, dA vector this side. Okay. So on this dA element, what will be this is angle theta, angle of incidence theta. Then the formula for force acting on this part, I want to find out. So force acting on this part will be, first of all, because there is no reflection part, so no shear stress, only normal stress will be acting, and normal stress will be acting in this direction. Let's call it as dF along normal. After that, I have to take dF along, I know finally I have to take dF along x-axis. Why I have to take dF along x-axis? Reason is because I know the word, this normal components will get cancelled out. Here also we have one force which is acting on this area, which is a dFn, and the this vertical components will get cancelled out, only horizontal component will remain. So I can write, finally I want to find out dfx, which will be equal to just df normal into cos theta. What is df normal? Df normal will be equal to change in momentum dp by dt into cos theta. And what is the change in momentum? Change in momentum is equal to, in terms of incident momentum p, reflected momentum p. Change in momentum is equal to p cos theta. Is it p cos theta or not? P cos theta into cos theta again upon time dt, that it is 2p cos theta, I think. So 2p cos theta upon dt into absorbed. Wait a second, it is not reflected, right? No, sorry, what am I doing? I started taking case of perfect reflector here. Oh, I asked for perfect absorber, but I'm taking case of perfect reflector. I think I will not be able to finish it now. It will take more time, and I think your class is over. Okay, no problem. I will continue tomorrow with this, and I have already given you enough idea so that if you think, and this boy was right, he was telling us one thing here, that when A is equal to 1, for that particular case, I could have just taken directly by taking which area into account? Perpendicular area into account, pi r square. Then if we take that, then also we will be getting answer, and he is perfect. He has a very good answer in that, but it will be little difficult to prove that for the sphere, even for the reflection also, the force comes out to be same, and that I will prove maybe in the next class. Along x-axis, the force comes out to be same, whether it is a perfect absorber or it is a perfect reflector. But wait for that. Next class I will start from here only. Okay.